Well, welcome everyone. We are really excited to share with you today. We have some presenters here from outside of Illinois, which is very exciting as well. I know we do a lot of Illinois examples here, but again, there's wonderful things happening all across this country. So wanted to bring in some folks here from Porterville, California, who will talk to you about an example of a school-based enterprise, which I know is a term kind of familiar here in Illinois, but really thinking through what is happening to do that career development experience, that internship type experience within a school space, working with other partners, right? But really doing that within the school space. And this will be focused in on energy conservation.
I'm Kirk-Ann Taylor. I'm the Executive Director of Climate Action Pathways for Schools. And I have with me today, Jen. Jen, do you want to just say a few words?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jen Garvin. I'm the Energy and Sustainability Coordinator for the Porterville Unified School District.
And we work together. Climate Action Pathways for Schools is a nonprofit organization. I just joined in January as the first executive director for the organization. The organization was just started in 2019, and our partnership with Porterville has been the impetus for starting this organization. I'll just share a little background. I'm new to the workforce or work-based learning community, but my career has been spent in environmental education. In fact, I spent a decade in Chicago at the Field Museum working in environmental education and partnerships with school districts there before moving to California. And one of the reasons I joined CAPS is because the opportunity to bring together two different passions that I had, the environmental education work with partnerships with school districts, but also I really like the win-win approach that our organization has in the partnerships with school districts. We work with school districts to create climate education programs that are workforce development programs for young people and employ those students in really essentially being employees for their school district, developing climate action plans and making tangible wins for the school district that help them address their goals in terms of energy efficiency and cost saving, but also prepare students for futures in green careers. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned a minute ago, our pilot project, our first partnership has been with Porterville Unified School District. And we've been working with Porterville for a little over 2 years now. And if you go to the next slide, Porterville is a wonderful community to work in. For those of you that don't know, it's in the Central Valley in California. The district has 22 schools, K-12, and they're really well known for their pathways work. And Jen's going to go more into the details of what that looks like at the district. But they had a really strong history of pathways and engaging students in multiple different career opportunities. They also had some energy efficiency programs started before we started working with them. And so part of our goal was to help them maximize the return and the benefit of those projects that they already had going and to, in fact, increase the savings that they could get. One of the things to note about Porterville is that it has, because it's in the Central Valley, it does suffer from air quality issues. And so we were also really interested in what we could do to help with addressing some of the environmental issues that were happening on the ground in Porterville as well, since this community disproportionately is impacted by some of the impacts of climate change. Next slide. So when we started out, there were 3 primary goals. And these continue to be our 3 goals. Number 1 was to advance work-based learning for students. And then we also wanted to reduce the annual energy expenses for the district. And then we also had a 3rd goal of reducing the district's greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2030. And the way that we did that, or we'll approach that over the 10 years, is through a series of different infrastructure projects and community engagement projects. And just in the first 2 years, we've had some incredible results. We've already been able to help the district reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from their facilities by 28%. And now that we're at the end of our 3rd year, we'll be updating those numbers in August when we have the data. But just at the end of the first 2 years, this is what we were able to achieve. We, in the first 2 years, also helped the district save over $850,000 in energy cost savings through some of the recommendations that we implemented and the students worked on. And then over the course of that time, we've also had 26 students that have been engaged in paid internship program through this, and they stay with us for 2 years typically throughout the whole project. And then a key part of our program has been helping the district raise additional dollars to implement infrastructure changes and other kinds of partnerships that will further their goals. And in this district, just in this time frame, we've been able to get over 9.3 million in state grants for the district to upgrade things like their HVAC systems, to work on on-site solar, to work on school bus electrification and charging stations. And we continue to fundraise and help the district access dollars through the state and other kinds of funding to implement these kinds of projects. So there's been a real win for the district in terms of the cost savings and also the resources that we've been able to bring back in. Next slide, please. Another key component is that we really work to, in a way, bridge the gap between what's happening on the business services side and the educational services side. We are the customers of the business service side. We work with facilities department, and we need their support, and they are guiding the kinds of work that can be done. But the students are working for the district as well, and it's tying into the pathways that they work in. So we're really trying to bridge the gap between those two areas, ed services and business services, within the districts that we work with. And you can see here our students in Porterville that are meeting with the district business officer and sharing one of their latest updates on the performance of solar or another project that they're working on with the business services. So next slide, I think I'll turn it over to Jen, because she can give a lot more of the details of what it looks like in the life of the students and in the district itself. But that's a sort of overview of what CAPS does in Porterville, and now as we're expanding into new school districts, the approach that we're taking.
Hi, so Pathways in Porterville started in 2008, and they have grown pretty exponentially since then. So my role within CAPS and PUSD is I am a liaison. I'm technically employed by CAPS and, get my salary from CAPS, but I physically work in the Pathways office at PUSD. So I currently work with 4 different pathways of the 14 that PUSD has at 6 different high schools. And the Pathways program is really strong. It's a great career technical education program within California and the nation. And 9 of their 14 pathways have distinguished status through NAF. So it's pretty embedded not only within the PUSD model and the PUSD office, but also within the greater economy and businesses in Porterville. If you can go to the next slide. So the way Pathways at PUSD is set up is they have a pretty robust staff, which you can see with me included in there, even though I'm not technically a district employee, in the top left. And they have 3 people who work specifically with businesses and industry leaders in Porterville to connect students to apprenticeship programs, internships, and just making sure that students get the continuum throughout their high school 4 years. So each year students are required to complete some sort of soft skills experience as they go through high school. They also have curriculum coaches that work with core teachers to make sure that in some capacity, whatever the goal of the pathway is, has a vein into those core curriculum classes. They also have folks that work on post-secondary education, connecting students to career opportunities, post-high school, college and community college visits, and keeping track of what students are doing post-high school. They've also started a newer program to insert the vein of professional development and career exploration into K-8. So students already are exposed to the 14 different pathways at PUSD before they even enter high school. So they have just started these offsite field trip laboratories that are in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas. It's a great view where students go starting in 5th grade to get exploration into the different pathways and what career options may exist for them within a STEAM learning environment. So they build robots and animatronics and have them dance. They, learn how to do circuit coding and are involved in all the different types of industries that could be involved in a tech career. Each of the different 14 pathways has an advisory board. So I sit on the advisory board of the Environmental Science Academy, and the advisory boards are made up of local industry leaders that are relevant to whatever that pathway is. And they work with the pathways teachers for that particular pathway to guide what are the things that students need to know or have experience in before entering the workforce or before prepping for college. And then the chair of each of those advisory boards sits on the P8 Council. And the P8 Council is less specific to a certain industry, but more about the broad overview of what pathways can do for Porterville and, what soft skills or what, things that you can't learn in the classroom that they think people who they are currently hiring as entry-level positions, what they're looking for. Are they looking for the ability to be adaptable, or are they, looking for someone to have really good communication and writing skills? So they guide kind of the high school curriculum that students need to complete to graduate as a pathway completer. And then next slide, please. The Pathways program is hugely successful. They have a number of students that at the same time as they're completing high school are doing dual enrollment courses at the local community college. Students complete, there's about 1,000 opportunities for internships and pre-apprenticeship programs open to students throughout the school year. And a lot of students will gain industry recognized certifications. So whether that be getting OSHA certified, or getting lead building certified, or CPR and first aid certified and wilderness first aid, whatever the industry certification is that's specific to that pathway. And none of the learning stops for the Pathways department after school ends. They also run camps for students, for elementary, middle, and high school students during the summer. And some of those are paid and some of those are unpaid. Next slide. So a little bit more into how the internship model works for CAPS. I start recruiting students either in their sophomore or junior year, depending on the pathway, in the spring semester, so usually around March, and they go through an interview process, and then they get accepted or not based on merit and how well they do in their internship and their interview. And then as soon as school ends, I do a 1-week intensive training course with them, where the returning veteran students actually train the new students on all of the different projects that they are working on to get them prepared for working on them throughout the summer, but then also during the school year. So it's been great to have some of the veteran students be mentors to the new students and kind of, learn how to turn it, they're used to all these programs and I taught them how to use all these programs, but then turning it on its head and saying, okay, now I need to actually teach someone how to do this. Then in July, they work for 4 weeks they got trained in all these topics and projects. Now they're going to do 4 weeks of hardcore work on them. And so during that time, they will complete energy reports for all of the 22 different schools and send them to their site district, the site principal or the site administrator to report back on how they performed that past year and how much energy savings they had. They also complete reports and various projects related to our grant deliverables that they then show to whoever our grant manager is. Once the summer ends, they work with me about 2 to 4 hours a week, sometimes less, sometimes more, depending on what we're doing that week. During the school year. So I go and meet with them every week at their school site and talk about what they're supposed to be working on that next week and move forward on what the next week's task is. Throughout the program, I work on developing their professional skills and giving them some tools that will be useful no matter what their career is, what they want to do post high school. So that's teaching them how to write emails, how to write that kind of formal structure of an email, and also learning things like Excel, which a lot of them are really interested in going into very STEM fields, and whether or not they use Excel or some other data or modeling software, learning problem solving with a finicky system like Excel is definitely useful. And then we do a lot of data analysis. And a lot of the data sets you get when you're in school are perfect and they're very pretty and there's no gaps. So we're learning how to clean up data and get real data sets with impurities and stuff like that. Next slide. And then just giving you a little bit more of an overview of the specific projects students are working on. So we currently have 2 students that are doing performance tracking and monitoring of our new electric bus fleet. So they are looking at a comparison of, the equivalent miles per gallon of the diesel versus electric buses, seeing how far they can get on a charge or a full tank, and how much money we're saving from a switch to diesel from electric. We were talking about how expensive gas prices are. Switching to electric is saving the district a lot of money right now. And then we have 2 students who are specifically involved in one of the more important aspects of our program, which is community engagement. They are facilitating focus groups and working with adults to get feedback from them on our projects, because we want to make sure whatever project that we do run for Porterville can fit with community need and what people want to see in their schools. So it's been quite terrifying for a number of them to walk up to a random adult and give a presentation or facilitate a meeting full of adults. But they've been thriving in it and doing really well. And then we also have them do the data analysis from tabling events or community surveys we send out. We have 2 students, one who's not pictured here, that work on marketing for our program. So we have 1 student who's specifically involved with running our social media page, as well as doing any sort of graphics or infographic pages for the program. And another student who works specifically on video production. So he will make videos, educational videos, informational videos, how-to videos, and share them with sites for an energy competition or just on our basic YouTube page. We also have 2 students that are working on energy baselining. So they go online every week and download energy data from our utility companies. And they make sure that we're meeting our energy goals and analyze all of the energy data for all 22 of our school sites. We also have 3 students that are working on solar monitoring. PUSD is lucky enough to have 22 different solar systems at all of the sites. And so they make sure the solar systems stay online. They go on every couple of days and make sure the solar energy systems haven't shut down for any reason, whether that be technical, human. We also had 1 person who was sneaking onto the sites and turning them off for whatever reason. And they inform us when there are any technical difficulties so we can get someone out there to fix it. And our last big project is doing retrofits for the heating and air conditioning systems as part of the Getting to Zero plan, which is hoping to decarbonize all of PUSD's buildings. So we have students that are looking at building drawings and building schematics and taking off the information from that, which they then provide to our consulting industries, and they can help inform them about how and what systems already exist on these sites so that we can retrofit it. Next slide. So in the first couple of years that we've been running this program, we've had a number of lessons learned. My job would not be possible and I would not be able to accomplish what I can without the support and information that's been provided to me by the Pathways department. If I have a question about, can I borrow some materials, or I need to borrow some conference space, is there anyone in the community that might let me in? If I need to have questions about who to contact on a certain site to reach students, or if I have questions about anything, they always either know someone on the site or know someone in the community who can help me out. And then as part of our program, we have goals that we need to meet, deadlines that we need to meet. And the reliability of my students has been one of the main components that I rely on to kind of do my job and report back to CAPS. And I found that some students are more reliable than others. And we've had a number of students join the program and then drop out. And the reliability of those students is definitely tied to the strength of the pathway, and having high standards for the students within that pathway. And the teachers that are running that program emphasizing the importance of professional development and the importance of internships and what you can get from it. And then also just for us, making sure that the projects that we're having students do fit with the scope of work of the certain pathway. So a lot of our work involves sitting in front of a computer and is very sedentary. And we were trying to involve some students that had very hands-on in the fields pathways. And that wasn't always successful either. And then second to last slide. We are also constantly trying to improve our program. So I have students provide feedback to me twice a year over the summer about how we can improve. One specifically related to our training week, which requires a lot of prep and run through with me. And the other just about the program overall. And so students give me feedback on how we can improve and just give their general thoughts about the program, particularly before they graduate, and what it's meant to them and what they've learned from the program. And I have them write a reflection every year, and I can see how their reflection and growth has grown over time. And so we've had a number of students who have said, this internship helped me decide. I knew I wanted to go into engineering, but now because of this internship, I really want to do civil engineering, specifically in building green buildings and decarbonized buildings. We've had students who say, I really, really enjoyed everything I learned, but I really want to go into medicine. And no matter what I do, the things that you've taught me about being a professional and, using some of the Excel and writing emails will be useful no matter where I go. So it's been great to kind of hear back from students about the really positive experiences they've had thus far. And last slide. And then none of what we do would be possible without our partners. So we do a lot of active transportation work, and that wouldn't be possible without connecting with local governments, with the city and then the county. We also have students work directly with all of our partners and get them involved in, you always have clients, you always have partners that you're working with to get your job done, and making sure that the students are putting on a really good face and representing CAPS well. So we work with 2 national nonprofits, Safe Routes Partnership and New Buildings Institute, on 2 different projects. And then our local partners, Zero Knox, which is an electric vehicle provider, and then the P8 Council that I mentioned previously. And then I think the last slide, Heather. And then thank you so much for having us. If you have any questions now, we're happy to take them. Our contact information is also on the screen, and you're more than welcome to reach out to us at any point if you have any follow-up questions that you think of a week from now. Thank you so much.